news,
Lobbyists are fed up with politicians accepting their money and then not coming through.
opinion,
When the automated police force orders you inside, that's just them doing their job.
remix.
Even lost my job partially due to the whole global warming issue. Increase in oil prices. This guy's scared.
This is Top Story with KLIXcast and Jill Skeen,
I've been a listener for about 20 years.
I'm talking to you makes me feel better.
where the news meets your opinion. Pick up the phone and talk about it. 736-0300. That's 736-0300. Now, here's the hosts of Top Story, KLIXcast and Jill Skeen.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Well, good morning and welcome to Top Story. 736-0300 is the number to call. So whose birthday is it, you are asking?
Well, it's my dear husband, Tom.
Oh.
So today is his birthday, and my mother, who is in town, her birthday was yesterday. So we have birthdays.
Goodness.
Yes.
Yeah. So
So-
July is your month because ours is June. Everybody has their birthday in June in our family.
Yeah, my mom's sister has hers July 2nd. My cousin is July 11th. My mom's is the 13th. Tom's is the 14th.
Oh, wow.
At the end of July, I'm done.
So do you just have one big party to celebrate them all?
Well, this is, she wasn't here last year. She's not here often on her birthday, but, we're going to get together tonight, his
Yeah.
family and
Well,
his
good.
parents. So it'll be
Good.
nice. But anyway, I wanted to wish them a happy birthday.
Absolutely.
I told Tom he might want to listen to the start of the show. He didn't know if he could. So anyway,
Well,
you heard it here first.
hopefully-
We did wish him happy birthday.
That's right.
So anyway, if you see him out there, wish him happy birthday.
Well, good.
Yes.
Well, coming up, we've got, we're going to hear about an event coming up with the Twin Falls Senior Center. We got a unique way for you to donate to your favorite charity. We've got Randy Stapilus with the Idaho political update coming up.
That's right.
And in the 9 o'clock hour, we're going to be talking about the NSA, another whistleblower. Actually, he's been around a while. It's not Edward Snowden. At first, they started out saying, oh, no, it's just the bad people that we're listening to. Now, come to find out, 80% of all of our phone calls are actually being recorded at the NSA. So it just gets worse and
Enjoy.
worse and deeper and deeper.
If they want to hear about my mundane life, enjoy. Go ahead. Have fun. I don't care. Anyway, but we'll be talking about that. But hey, I survived the dunk tank and
Yes.
ice cream fun day.
It does look like you got a little color in your face, though.
Yes, that was. I want to thank everyone who came out to Ice Cream Fun Day. KLIXcast did not. I'm just pointing out. Yes. The fourth
Sorry, I had
year,
other things going
in a
on.
row, you have not made it. That's a record. But I'd like to thank all the people that did and came out and supported Rotary. I want to thank all the businesses that made ice cream, and I want to thank Jack Holland, Sheriff Carter, being in the dunk tank. Now remember, Jack and I had a bet.
Yes. How did
We had
that
a
go?
bet. Jack was killing it. He raised $292 in his hour.
Wow.
Which was more than double than what Nick Koser raised last year. I don't know why, but last year was our first dunk tank. Maybe that's why. So I got really nervous. I thought, oh man, this is going to be brutal. How am I going to do it? And 2 to 3, things kind of waned toward the end. And I have to say, I was blessed by one of our listeners. He was kind enough. He did $100.
Wow.
And he didn't want to see me lose the bet, and he was throwing until he could dunk me, which was like 2 or 3 throws, and then he let others, on his money, which was really
that was
kind.
nice.
So I eked out $316. I was like, man, and I kept saying, come on, I got to beat Jack. I better beat Jack. So anyway, it was so nice of him. Thank you very
were
much.
the victor.
I was the victor.
All right.
So now Jack is going vegan starting today. I'm going to be on Rise and Shine tomorrow, so I'm going to bring him a vegan lasagna so he can at least eat for a few days as a thank you, along with
Till he
my
figures out
cookbook.
how to-
With my cookbook.
Yeah, there you go.
He asked if I had any tips. Like, I have a whole cookbook full of tips, Jack. But anyway, it was a fun
and it'll
event.
only cost you $16.95.
Yeah. No, 1908.
Oh,
Anyway,
sorry.
So anyway, it was a lot of fun, and nice family event with the arts in the park, and your train was featured.
Oh, yeah. I want to thank Art Hogue for featuring my little train engine down there for Art in the Park.
Wait, that reminds me, public service announcement. At the event, there were 2 sets of keys that were left. There's a key on a lanyard, and then there's 4 keys that look like they were made, the same ones on a little ring.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe someone who was an industrial lost their keys, and along with a wad of cash.
Ooh.
I'm not saying how much, but if you lost any of those items.
I lost the cash.
Key on a lanyard, 4 of the same keys, and a wad of cash. Call Art Hogue at 421-1311. 421-1311.
All right, there you go.
There's always something left at an event.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
it wouldn't be an event unless you lose your keys, right? We all know how horrible that is, don't we?
Yeah, we do, don't we, Jill?
Yeah, it took me 10 days to find my clump. But anyway. It's brutal. It's
poor
brutal.
Jill.
It's brutal.
Yes, it is. It is.
Mm.
Well, we do have some other news going on that we wanted to talk about this morning. The plan to increase the speed limits. Now, we heard recently that it's no secret that the Idaho legislature raised the speed limits on interstates and highways in Idaho.
Because it was such a huge demand and pressing issue. I still don't understand it, but whatever.
And then the Department of Transportation came out and said, well, it's not going to be for a while yet. We still have to do some studies. We got to change the signs, ta-da.
For millions of dollars, ta-da, because we're just flush with money here in Idaho. Let's just waste it on traffic signs.
So then about June 30th, there was this big news story that came out and says, tomorrow all the speed limits go up to 80 miles an hour.
July 1st.
And even I, who am relatively close to the news business, thought, wait a minute. The Department of Transportation said that wasn't going to happen for a while.
That's right, and whatever they say goes.
So I don't know who started that lie, but at any rate, then the next day on July 1st, the Department of Transportation, the state police agencies all were saying, oh, no, not today. Not today. You can't go, it's going to be delayed a while because we have to do some studies.
Everyone's gunning, like everyone's driving 80 anyway. Hello.
Yeah, they are. I had to go to Mountain Home last evening and back, so I'm very
Mach
well
1.
aware.
Was it Mach 1?
Everybody else was, yeah.
Oh, Kelly wasn't?
So anyway, now the plan to increase the speed limits on some interstates is back on.
All right.
This last Friday, the Department of Transportation, the Idaho Transportation Board, I should say, approved increasing speeds to 80 miles per hour on rural sections of Interstates 15, 84, and 86 in southern and eastern Idaho. The speed limit will increase by early August.
So
you can't go that today.
Just guess what day you can go 80. It's just early August, people. So I'm sure the Idaho State Police won't nab you because you'll say it went up in early August. How do they not give us a date?
Well, when I was heading back from Mountain Home yesterday, there was at least one driver from Utah who thought it was already in effect. Because I was driving between 75 and 80, with the rest like everybody else, and here comes this white pickup.
Did he get pulled over?
No, are you kidding me? There's never a cop around when you need one. Are you kidding?
But you know what? I just don't understand the huge need and rush and millions of dollars and studies for what? People are driving 80 anyway. And if you don't think that people are now going to go 85 and 90, and if you don't think that's going to be more detrimental to accidents, if you survive or not, come on. What was the great push here?
I don't know. I am still a little puzzled by that. And trucks, by the way, get to go to 70.
Yeah.
From 65 to 70.
Yeah.
Now, when there's no cop around, you can always tell when there's no Smokey in the area because the trucks would always drive the same speed as the cars, which was actually great because when they have to slow down to 65, it's just like putting a big plug in the road.
Mm.
So I think they should have kept it at 75 and let the trucks go 75 also, and then everybody would have been happy.
I just don't, when you're struggling with your budget and you're struggling with even improving the roads, but we don't have money for that, but we have money to improve, the signs around the entire state. give me a break.
Yeah, I'm really not sure where that one came from.
Oh, probably some legislator who's running for re-election, and some constituent said, "Hey, raise it to 80." Okay, if it gets me elected.
Could have been. Stranger things have happened.
Oh, that's how it always happens.
In other news, Sergeant Bo Bergdahl has finished undergoing therapy and counseling at an Army hospital in San Antonio and will assume a job at the Army North Headquarters at the same base, Fort Sam Houston, Defense Department officials said late yesterday. He is also expected to meet with Major General Kenneth R. Dahl, the officer who is investigating the circumstances of Bergdahl's disappearance from his outpost in Afghanistan in 2009. So, looks to me like they've released him to go back to working active duty. So now the investigation will probably commence, and we'll see what happens there.
And I'm sure this is just the start. I mean, it doesn't mean he's back to after 5 years of. These are just baby steps to get him back into where he can.
I mean, he's on active duty. He's working in the office there. I don't know what they have him doing. Maybe he's filing stuff. I don't know.
Well, they have a couple soldiers helping him.
Yep. They have.
I wonder if he's seen his family yet.
I don't know.
That hasn't been reported.
There's been no mention of that anywhere,
No.
and I know they've kind of started this secrecy thing with all the outbursts
I don't
that they've
blame
had
them.
on this, and so they may have and just never said anything.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure it's a huge adjustment. So
we'll see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Also, have you ever heard Daddy refer to his daughter as a princess, my little princess?
No, I don't think my dad ever used that with me.
Any of your sisters?
I don't recall that one.
Well,
Princess? No.
here's a guy who took that literally. Jeremiah Heaton is the father of three from Abington, Virginia, and he has claimed a patch of land between Egypt and Sudan as his kingdom so that his 7-year-old daughter Emily can be a real princess.
Oh, isn't that
True
a great
story.
place? A great place as the Middle East is exploding. Here, little Emily, go.
Several months ago, Heaton was playing with Emily, and she asked him if she would ever be a real princess, and he informed her that she would. He said, at the time, I had no idea how I would honor her wish, but I knew that I had to find a way.
Okay, how about, here's a newsflash for parents. Why don't you just say, actually, no, sweetie. We're not born into royalty, and this is how it works.
Yeah, but he
know?
didn't. He
No.
didn't. He started researching how he could accomplish this, and his investigation led him to Bir Tawil, an 800-square-mile area that, due to land disputes, is not claimed by either Egypt or Sudan.
How lucky for Emily.
The mountainous region is one of the last unclaimed pieces of land on Earth. I didn't know anything even existed like that.
Yeah.
Heaton trekked through the desert in June and planted the Heaton Kingdom flag, designed by his kids, in the soil of Bir Tawil. When he got home, he requested that everyone address his 7-year-old daughter as Princess Emily. He and his wife, Kelly, also got her a princess crown.
Okay, this man has really gone way too far.
I wouldn't bet, but what those children are probably spoiled rotten. What do you bet?
What do you think?
Now she is a princess
Can you
of her
imagine her
own
in
little
school?
kingdom.
Can you imagine? I'm sorry, Mrs. Smith. Please refer to me as Princess Emily. Can you imagine? What did this guy create?
Oh, my gosh.
It's going to be his little monster, not little princess.
We just don't know how the other half lives. We have more coming up. We'll be talking about the Twin Falls Senior Center with an event coming up here next on Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. We have Jeanette Rowe coming up at the Twin Falls Senior Center. Boy, lots of stuff going on there. But before we do that, I want to tell you about Infrared Baron, available through Far More of Idaho. They'll fly over your fields. They'll take infrared images. They'll upload them to your computer. You can look and see how effective, efficient, or inefficient your watering system is. You can make changes. You can increase your yield because of it and live happily ever after. Ta-da!
How nice
All
is
you have
that?
to do is call Far More of Idaho. They can help you with this. 324-3341 or at farmoreofidaho.com. It is a low-cost investment in your crops. In fact, it doesn't cost, as I have been saying, it pays.
There you go.
A little bit of money invested in something like this can yield high results.
Okay.
So talk to him about that at Far More of Idaho, 324-3341, or again at farmoreofidaho.com. Jeanette Rowe, good morning. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me today.
What's going on at this Twin Falls Senior Center?
What's not happening at the center?
Boy, it sounds like you guys are hopping there. What they used to say, a happening hairdo or something like that?
That's right. It's happening.
So what is happening?
We've got a lot of things that have came up in the last month. I've started a volunteer lawyer service to help seniors who need to have advice for lawyers. So they're coming on the second Wednesday of the month and talking about a general topic, and then they talk to people all together, and then if they need individual counseling, they do that. And it was very successful. We had an overwhelming crowd of about 20 people on the first one we did.
Oh, good.
Oh,
Okay.
my God.
And so, yes.
And then we have, we're participating in the Quilt Walk, which is this Friday and Saturday, which is also associated with downtown. But all the quilts at the Senior Center are not for sale. They are just to showcase what talented people we have in the quilt room.
Okay.
Wow.
But we have about 25 to 30 on the walls, and they're absolutely gorgeous.
Amazing. My sister does some quilting. I'm not really good at precise things like that.
All the quilts that are downtown will be given, or all the proceeds, if you purchase those, all those proceeds go to the Idaho Food Bank.
So they're just all going to be in different stores downtown on Main Street or
That's
any other
correct.
places?
Basically downtown, and then they'll have them in the stores, and they'll also be out on the sidewalks.
Okay, great.
Oh, very nice.
That's nice.
You said something a bit ago about the Department of Insurance closing its Twin Falls office?
That's correct. They
So-
closed the end of May.
And that was kind of a surprise to a lot of people.
It was a very much surprise to a lot of us. I am one of the volunteers that work with the Sheba program, which are people who help independently counsel seniors or people who need to have their prescription Part D insurance. And what happens is that office is now closed. That was a valuable resource to us. If we ever needed assistance, we could go there and they would help us through. They could see the government computer and things like that. So if we had any errors or problems, they could help us. That office is now closed. So if we have problems or issues, we now have to go to Boise. They've split it into, instead of having 4 districts, there's 3. One in Pocatello, and then one in Idaho Falls. There's one in Boise, and there's one in Coeur d'Alene. So they just have a lot bigger area that the people have to handle. But the sad thing is that people that are seniors usually don't like to do their stuff on the internet or over the telephone. They want to know the person. These people that had been running it here in Twin Falls had been doing it for 19 years.
Okay, so what are you going to do? Because we're going to run out of time. I want to make sure you get through everything.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we are now doing the counseling at the Senior Center. I've enlisted 7 volunteers. We have a number that people can call and set up and have appointments, and we can try to work with those. But open enrollment starts in October 15th and goes to December 7th, and we'll be helping everybody with their needs and taking appointments.
That's for Medicare.
Wow.
And you're also looking for volunteers.
Desperate need for volunteer drivers. We need people that just could give, if they can give an hour, hour and a half, one day a week, one day a month, just to help relieve. We have a lot of drivers who are on vacation. We had a driver that had an incident the other day and ended up in the hospital because he fell. And we need to have people replace those people so we can, until they get well and things like that.
Now, are they delivering Meals on Wheels, or what are they doing?
Delivering Meals on Wheels. We also need assistance in the dining room. We also have a lot of fundraisers. We're going to a lot more outreach programs. We're at the Art in the Park.
That's right. I saw
We're
your
going to be at
table.
Beer Fest. We're going to be at the fair. So we need people to help man those booths and tell what the Senior Center is doing.
Okay.
So how do they get involved with it if they're interested? Who do they call?
They call 734-5084, and they can talk to myself, or they can talk to Chantel Hernandez, who was my public relations
What was that
person.
again, Jeanette?
734-5084.
Is that the same number if they need to call for help with their insurance?
Yes.
Whoop.
Or
Sorry
the
about
insurance
that.
number is a different number, but I don't have it right. But they can call that number, and I'll give them.
734-5084. Okay, great. And yes?
Well, we got a call here. I don't know if they've got a question or what. Top story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Hey, I don't mean to stir the pot. I just the good lady there brought up Sheba, and this is something that came up with some older folks that I have been involved with, and there's something kind of sketchy with the closing of the Sheba office here in Twin Falls, and some people suspect that it was related to the effectiveness, how many clients they had. I guess I'm kind of wondering if somebody knows more about exactly why they closed the Sheba office.
I don't know.
They said it had to do with the funding, but they also said this area in Twin Falls was one of the highest rated Sheba counseling sites in the state.
Just in quality, or
in quality
in
and the number of people that we would counsel, it was higher than any other place.
So they closed it.
They closed
Well,
it.
that only makes sense. You know,
Yeah.
if you got something that's working well, if it's a government organization, you got to shut her
Well,
down,
maybe they're
right?
cutting the
I
funding,
don't
so
know.
maybe you should call your senators and ask them.
There you go. That's a good
seriously,
idea. Yeah.
call your senators,
We're out
ask
of time.
them why was it shut.
Jeanette, thank you very much. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. We have Randy Stapilus coming up with the Idaho political update shortly. Wanted to tell you, though, with it being July and being hot, you're probably wanting a little bit of relief, going where it's a little cooler. Well, the hills, the mountains might be a good place for that. Do a little camping in an RV from Bish's RV, because they're doing whatever they can this month to help get you camping, and they're having a huge blowout on their entire inventory of Starcraft and Dutchman travel trailers. Plus, you'll get $1,000 in parts and accessories with your new travel trailer purchase.
Yeah.
And this is going on all during July at Bish's RV in Twin Falls. They're at the Curry Crossing between Twin Falls and Fider on Highway 30. I would head there, and then I would take my new RV and head for the hills where it's a lot cooler. It got over 100. When I was traveling Mountain Home yesterday, I looked at my temperature gauge. At one point, it was 104 degrees. It's way too hot for me.
I thought it was probably cool in your ham radio basement.
No, I was in my vehicle.
Aw,
It was
poor
still cool there.
Kelly got out of his basement.
I have to be careful. If I get too hot, I start sweating, and then I melt because I'm made out of sugar.
I
So,
know,
you know how that
just
goes.
a little snowflake.
Brian Higgins is with us this morning from Success Martial Arts. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Brian.
Okay, so now you may have a chance to bring some money to Twin Falls for charity. So tell us how that works.
So I was nominated for a Community Pioneer Award.
Congratulations.
Yay.
Who nominated you? Who does
I'm not
these
sure.
awards?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
It's one of those things where, they post it and say, "Hey, we're accepting nominations for," and I get an email sometime after the fact that says, "Did you know you were nominated?" And I say, "Oh, I guess so." And do you know you're in the final 8? And I go, "I do now." And then they explain to you what happens next.
All right.
And so that's kind of where we are in the process.
So what happens next?
And so online voting is supposed to go live today. And if we're able to generate enough votes, then I theoretically would be in the last 3. And those 3 each get money from Pioneer Federal Credit Union to donate to a charity of the winner's choice.
How much money do you get?
First place is $2,500, and then second place is $1,500, and third place is $1,000.
Oh, very cool.
Great.
So you're working. How's this work for you then?
It's pretty simple. The link isn't up yet. I checked this morning. They're supposed to be posting a link with the 8 finalists. People go to their website. You can vote once a day. My understanding is the voting is open for 10 days.
So
you can go
Pioneer
back and vote
Credit
every day.
Union is posting it? It's their link? Okay.
Yes, it's supposed to be on their website. It's pending. Like if you go to where the link is supposed to be, it's a, "Hey, we're updating." And so my guess is within the next few hours, it'll probably be up and running.
And what is the website for people who want to know?
Easiest way right now is to just Google Community Pioneer Federal Credit Union. Or you can find me on Facebook, and then I'll put the link up.
Okay.
But for me to say it to you, it's not going to make any sense. It's one of those
long drawn out ones.
Letters, numbers, symbols.
Yeah.
It's a crazy thing. It's hard to remember.
Right.
And so I guess what I'm asking is for folks in the community to go ahead and vote, preferably once a day for the next 10 days, and see if we can generate more votes here in Twin than whoever else I happen to be competing with, I suppose. My guess is a lot of those folks will be in Boise.
So is there any charity that you would like to support that you've been
to kind
affiliated
of continue the story here, if you win, then you'll bring the money back here and donate it to a charity.
Something local, yeah. My intention is if I were lucky enough to make that happen, then my intention is to bring it back to something local. What we were nominated for is our Action Heroes program. Mm-hmm. And part of how this is kind of a departure, it's a new thing for me, is the Action Heroes projects are usually built around service. And so we're usually taking something that was headed to landfill and sort of resurrecting it and creating new value, or we're engaging in education projects to help people, solve a problem. And so we're not really part of that shuffling money around part of charity. That's kind of new for me. And so what I'm asking is, for people to make recommendations. Hey, I think if you win, the money ought to go here, and this is why. And it'll
There's
help.
so many charities that need so much help.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not hard. So it's kind of like
It's hard to
what
pick.
hits your what hits your heart. It would be like something, what's personal to you. I mean, to me, I would probably give it to the animal shelter. There's so many.
Yeah.
So many things that are in need. So that's a tough one to pick.
And that's why
Maybe you should narrow a few and have people vote on them.
Maybe. I haven't right now.
Come on, visualize. You could win, Brian. Visualize winning.
That's what I'm visualizing. I'm visualizing winning, and so let's win, and and then I can figure out where it's going to go.
Yeah, which will be kind of fun. Okay, so they go to they Google Pioneer Federal Credit Union's
Community Pioneer,
and
there are 2 or 3 things that you can get in there. And again, or you can find Brian Higgins or Success Martial Arts on Facebook.
Is this the first year they've done it, or has it been in existence?
I think they've done it
for a while?
before. My guess is it seems like it's a statewide thing, and so it may be that we just haven't had a winner from here very often, so we don't pay attention.
Yeah, I haven't heard of it. So anyway, well, gosh, I wish you the best of luck, because I know someone could use charity down here.
That's
Maybe
right.
you could divide it by a few if you're number one. Who knows?
I guess that's my thought. Is right now I'm just generating ideas and asking for help.
All right, very good. Well, thank you, Brian.
Best
Good luck.
of luck,
We
Brian.
hope you win.
Hope you win.
All right.
you.
This is Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX, and we have Randy Stapilus up next with the Idaho Political Update. 7360300 is always the number to call here on Top Story. Welcome back. We have Randy Stapilus coming up with the Idaho Political Update, but first, a lesson on how to rent a mailbox.
This is what you do. Step 1, go to the corner of Blue Lakes and Addison, look for the UPS sign. Step 2, walk in there and say, Jill and Kelly sent me, and I'd like to rent a mailbox. And depending on the length of the lease, you'll receive 1, 2, or 3 additional months free just by using Joe or Kelly's name. People, if you don't, you're going to leave money on the table. While you're there, you can ship, you can package, you can copy, you can laminate. You can buy a cute little animal card for someone's birthday.
Yay.
There's no drop-off fees for prepaid packages or mail, and you can easily design or upload your projects from any place, anytime. Go to the UPS store at the corner of Blue Lakes and Addison. Tell Charles and the crew that Joel and Kelly sent you.
And that's how it works.
That's how easy that one is.
Absolutely. Randy Stapilus is with us this morning with the Idaho Political Update. Good morning, Randy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to have you here. It's really not political, I guess. Well, I guess kind of sort of it is in a way. We were told here a while back that it was going to be a while before we got these 80-mile-an-hour speed limits on our interstates and roads. And then come July 1st, the ITD said, no, wait a minute, this is going to be a while. We have to do some studies and such. And now they say it's back on first part of August. Is this really in for true?
Well, pretty much. The speed limits don't change until you actually see the signs there.
Right.
I mean, that's one important thing to know. Is that once you actually see the 80-mile-an-hour speed limits there, then and only then has it actually been changed, and that may still be a little ways out because it takes a little while to get that set up and to get the signs made and all that sort of thing. But what had happened was that they have a series of studies that they need to do in terms of accidents and road visibility, other things that they kind of have to do, and they had not gotten that done. And, at the point when the new law took place. So they need to do that. They need to change their regulations some. There are just a number of kind of procedural elements that they have to go through before they can actually do that. But it now appears that they've just about completed that. So we should probably be seeing that in certain areas, mainly on the interstates before long, and possibly the state highways or some parts of state highways a little bit later.
And Randy, do we have an actual number of how much this is costing us? We had Nathan Jerky on the show a few months ago, and he said this could be, millions of dollars between the studies and the signs. And I think, wow, we don't even have enough money to fix the bridges and highways, but we're so flush with money. Let's just change this. I mean, really, I think this is like the last priority.
Well, that was the legislature's call.
I know. What are they thinking?
They decide where they're going to spend them. I wouldn't expect that it would be enormously expensive, but in the larger context of things, the main physical thing that they have to do is the signs themselves, which aren't all that terribly expensive. The studies are probably actually a little more so. That's a little bit invisible, but they kind of have to do that as well.
Yeah.
And they have to do some of this stuff because, among other things, certainly the feds are going to be looking rather closely at this. They have some interest in what the status is on the interstates, and if they feel, as they have in some states from time to time, that some of those speed limits are going too high, then they will start to weigh in, and the states need to be able to produce studies that show that this is an appropriate, acceptable way to go.
Well, I would suppose too that there is a liability issue attached to this, because if somebody is going along and has an accident on a part of the road that for some reason wasn't really designed to be an 80-mile-an-hour road, they would have a case for a lawsuit.
That could be if the state doesn't go through its due diligence on it. If it does, then it kind of protects itself from some of that. But if it doesn't, if they can show that the state more or less arbitrarily threw in the new 80-mile-an-hour speed limits in places, and without being able to demonstrate that that could be done safely, then there could be a lawsuit coming down the line. So they do have to take some care in doing that.
It just seems with everything that's going on in the state, like really that was your top priority to pass that through and rush it through. That one just plucks my last nerve, I have to say.
I'm not sure where the impetus for it exactly came from. It may have actually come from people who want to do 70 miles an hour, because I could imagine some of the truckers wanting to up their speeds, which have been more around 60 miles an hour in a lot of these areas. And kicking that on up, or 65, and kicking that on up to 70. So I could imagine that that's probably more directly where some of the request for it came from.
We have a caller. Let's go ahead and take it. Top story, you're on the air with Randy Stapilus.
Good morning.
Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, just listening to Randy there, a couple of things on that. Don't you think they should have done the studies on that before they voted to just increase the speed limit? Wouldn't it make a little bit of sense to do that first?
Oh, come on. Come on.
Well, I think that it probably would have, but that was what the legislature decided that it wanted to do, as opposed to what the State Department kind of had to do. The legislature sort of sets the overall policy. Now, you could make the argument, and I think it'd be a very reasonable one, that the legislature should have had such studies done, and they should have been operating from those kind of facts before they passed the bill in the first place.
Yeah.
I think that's a very reasonable point.
Yeah.
Because if they were now to do these studies and decide, gee, a lot of the interstate system doesn't even qualify for that kind of a speed. Then what would we do?
Well, then you have the department, presumably kind of butting heads with the legislature, and that's not really a good place for anybody to have been. It probably would have been a lot better. I think that's exactly right. If the legislature had kind of slowed down a little bit and said, department, take a look at this, and then we'll come back next session, and if the information that we get shows that the speed limits can be supported, then let's go ahead and do it. But only if the studies show it. But the legislature moved a little faster than that.
Yep. Okay, so coming up, let's see, is this my list here?
I mean,
I know what I was going to ask.
I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Okay, so there was a review apparently requested by auditors from State Treasurer Ron Crane after the controversy over the loss of some investment monies, and apparently no review was granted. Now, this is a charge being made by Democrat challenger Deborah Silver. What is this all about?
Well, after an audit is done, like a legislative audit, and these audits are done kind of on a rolling basis. They do them of pretty much all the state agencies go through them. It's not an unusual kind of thing. After they're actually done, the agencies have an opportunity to respond, and then after a period of time, the auditors check back in and ask the agencies, okay, we asked you to do this, this, and this by way of improving your process and improving your systems. Have those things been done? Or have you made other changes that will correct the problems that we saw?
And the report seemed to indicate in this case, after the treasurer's review, that there wasn't that nothing had been done. That they got essentially no real response to their critique, pretty much at all. And that's what Deborah Silver, the Democratic candidate for treasurer, who is opposing Ron Crane, the Republican incumbent, that is what she has been. She's been arguing about that for the last week. That not only were the problems found, but that once they were found, they were not corrected.
Right, because I mean, there's some serious issues here. There's a potential loss. I mean, so far he's lost $10 million with a potential of up to what, 22, 27 million was the figure. That
could have been, yeah.
Yeah, that misuse of funds on limousines, on his gas card, on transferring things into different accounts when he shouldn't have been doing that. I mean, these things are very serious, and to lose up to that much money of the Idaho taxpayer dollars and there's no changes, and I'm kind of shocked actually I'm very shocked at the legislature that they have not been more adamant about this. Like, how has this been going on for so many years, and they seem to have turned a blind eye to it?
Well, and the fact that there hasn't been much of a response, or hasn't been much of a correction.
Yeah.
To put that in context, that really is pretty unusual, because ordinarily the agencies have been over time pretty much right on top of that. When they get those kind of requests, there have been occasions when they've disputed them, and they've said, no, the auditors got something wrong because of this, and this. But the responses have generally been pretty prompt, and in most cases, the report back is that the agency took steps to try to correct whatever the problem was. But in this case, there just doesn't seem to have been much of a response at all.
Yeah, apparently there was supposed to have been some meetings that took place between the treasurer and the controller, and that was supposed to take the place of the report to the auditors?
Well, the paperwork still is kind of needed, and the meetings by themselves would really not have been quite sufficient. Yeah. You would have had to have something to follow up on that. It's really kind of a standard procedure that pretty much all the state agencies go through from time to time. The Treasurer's Office has gone through it before, just as kind of the normal, oversight and review of what they do.
It seems to me like if you were doing something and there's been some questions brought up, that you would bend over backwards to prove to everyone that everything was okay.
And that's the way it usually goes.
That's just
most of the times for most agencies. That's the norm.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem to have been the case in this instance, at least not until we hear something more from the Treasurer's Office, something a little more substantive.
And I really hope Idahoans do not give him a pass. Honestly, I know he ran unopposed in the primary, but he received 128,000 votes. I'm sorry, as a Republican, I wouldn't give this guy a vote if he's lost up to almost 27 million of our taxpayer dollars. How do you vote for someone like that? I don't know. I'm just like outraged.
And it's probably worth noting, it will be interesting to see whether he agrees to a debate, because he is not he's not debated the last few times that he's been up and challenged.
Yeah.
So we'll see whether he agrees to even a debate this time around.
That'll be an interesting thing to keep track of.
I'd look forward to seeing that one.
Do we have a new voting system that we're going to be starting here pretty soon?
Well, it looks like we might. It's under review. There's one called Express Vote. Secretary of State's office is putting kind of asking for public input on that. And if you go to the Secretary of State's website, you can find that. What that does, it's not too drastic, but I think a lot of people probably would like it, and it seems to have some of the self-regulating elements that you really need. You need a paper trail coming out of an electronic voting system. You certainly need something to ensure that people's votes are recorded the way they intended them to be. And this one seems to have that. It looks as though what you do is you get a little card from the people who are there at the polling place. You put it into the machine. The card reads who you are and where you and what you should be able to vote for, and then it just kind of on one screen after another walks you through it. It's if you've done the supermarket self checkout, at the counter. It kind of looks and feels a lot like that.
Which I hate, by the way.
Choice of,
it always asks me a question that I don't have the answer to.
So do I. so
well,
Randy,
you can always skip.
Yeah.
I guess so.
But then when you're done, it prints out a written report of how you voted, so you can look and see whether the machine recorded it the way you intended it.
And there's no way that there could be any kind of pre-programming or errors with this at all.
Well, it looks pretty from what I've seen of it. I looked through it, and it looks like a pretty good, clean system to me. But I think that's exactly the sort of questions that I hope people ask, and that we get really detailed answers to.
In their 2-hour demonstration on Tuesday, July 15th, in a conference room, 2 hours for the public to decide this, not even around the state for people around in other areas than Boise.
I think people should take a real close look at it, at any electronic system. But I think we're probably all going toward more electronic systems. I suspect the day is not too far off when we'll be voting on our smartphones.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Absolutely.
That
Randy
would be disturbing to me. Randy, thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you next week.
Okay.
All right, appreciate it. Randy Stapilus from Reidenbaugh.com at Reidenbaugh Press, and you can hear him weekly right here, and you can also subscribe to his weekly update. Go to Reidenbaugh.com for that. We're going to be talking about the NSA and spies and recording your phone calls next hour here on Top Story. Welcome back to Top Story. 7360300 was always the number to call, and welcome back, Jill.
Thanks, Kelly.
Coming up, I want to talk about Mr. William Binney. He's one of the highest level whistleblowers to ever emerge from the NSA.
It almost sounds like that's a group of people now.
I know, it does, doesn't it? And I guess it is. But anyway, he has some interesting stuff in a story here from The Guardian, and I want to go over that. But I was reminded of something first before we do that. There was a story I was reading this morning at KTVB.com. As the heat wave across Idaho and the rest of the country sets in, there is news of yet another death in a hot car. This week, a 15-month-old boy died in Connecticut. And the story was actually about taking the technology that we have built into these computers in our cars to remind us that we have a child or a pet with us, or something that the computer can do to keep the death from happening. Like, what, I don't know, they haven't determined yet. Maybe automatically turn on an air conditioner, automatically start
an
the
alarm,
engine.
something.
Some sort of an alarm. I don't know. But I just have to say, if we need a computer to remind us we have a child with us, or to remind us not to leave the child in the car, in the sun, in 100-degree weather while we go into a bar, or if we have to have some sort of a backup system in a computer to keep us from killing our children or our pets in our cars, then we are doing it wrong.
Well, I think this is like
our priorities are screwed up.
This is like, I think, the 16th death so far this year across the country. It's happening. I think
it's
it was
an
like
epidemic.
11 states. But I have to say, I was telling you, over 4th of July weekend, we were driving in my sister-in-law's car. It was a Subaru, and we brought the dog with us. And it was a, anyway, not whatever. I can't think of it now, what kind of dog it is. But anyway, so Roxy went in the back, and the seats are kind of high. So we went out. We were going to go to her daughter's house for lunch, and we all get out of the car. And Roxy didn't make a noise, but then I saw her set up. I'm like, oh my gosh, Roxy, and I like startled me, like, wow, we could have left her in the car, if you hadn't seen her, and if it was a small dog, but and then you think, well, would you have heard her barking? And you can see almost how it would happen, because you're just like focusing in your own way. Some people have left their kids in there while they've gone into work, and I don't know. I mean, in the second seat, I don't understand. Like, you would see in the rear view, or the reason I saw Roxy was in the back, because I was in the back. I got out and I saw her. But you would think when you get out of your car, you would see your kid, unless they're. I don't know. And it's such a tragedy.
I don't
happens.
get it. I don't understand it. How
has anyone had a problem with that where they thought, oh, I almost left my kid or dog in the car?
I mean, I'm thinking that when this happens, I don't know if all the time the parents get, or whoever is, doesn't necessarily have to be a parent, I guess. But are they charged with anything? I mean, I would think at the
Some are charged with murder.
At the very least, should be involuntary manslaughter or
well, I think
something.
they have been. And this guy who's on trial now, I mean, I think it was definitely murder.
That was a whole different deal. Yeah. That was just a plain out murder.
Yeah.
Somebody planned to kill their kid and to do it that way.
How awful. The little boy had scratch marks on his face and things on his head. I mean, fighting to get out. I mean, it's just terrible.
Yeah.
As this guy's going to lunch, sexting other women. I mean, honestly, how do you live with yourself? How do you live with yourself?
I don't know how a lot of people live with themselves anymore. But if ever there was a case for a death penalty, that would be it. A slow, agonizing death penalty.
I don't know. Has anyone had that problem? Have you thought, oh, gosh, that was the first time, and we don't have a dog, but I was like, oh, Roxy's, and she was just sitting there.
736-0300 is the number to call.
She's just sitting there looking at us, and she's kind of a big dog, and then we're like, Roxy, of course. But in your own little world, as you're walking out and they don't make a noise, you could see where it would happen.
Yeah, I have, I forgot to pick up my son at kindergarten many years ago. But he wasn't in any immediate trouble. I mean, not like leaving him in a car.
Safe. Yeah, he can just.
But I mean, when they are right there in the vehicle with you.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that happens.
How long did it take you to remember?
I don't remember. I was talking to somebody on the phone. I think it was my wife, and it was my wife, and I happened to think, oh, wow, I forgot to pick up Shane from kindergarten.
And now he's like 20s, going to therapy, saying, I remember the day I stood there, my dad forgot me.
He's not in his 20s. He just turned 40.
40?
Yeah.
Wow, I thought he was younger than that.
We got a caller. Top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, good morning. It drives me out of my tree when I see people leaving their animals in, their kids in. My only, ease to my thoughts about this poor kid dying in his car is that, the judgment in the hereafter for the father or the mother, if she was involved. But the emotional side of me as a person wants to put that guy in a 140-degree room with no water, locked in, can't get out, and leave him there until he perishes so he can see what his kid felt.
Yeah, that would be the death penalty.
It's a sad thing. I saw a deal posted on Facebook yesterday. Somebody was walking their toddlers on the hot asphalt, and it blistered and burnt the bottom of their feet so bad that they were red and bare, raw skin. And it's just like, come on, people, think.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah. And that happens. That can happen with pets too, people and pets.
Oh, yeah.
Their paws
on the asphalt,
on the asphalt and
such. Absolutely. Think about it.
They don't think about that. I don't know. I think we have. Where our society is getting to the point anymore where we don't think. We just don't think.
Do you not think, or you don't care? Do you not think about your little animal?
I think, well, a lot of people care after they think about it, but they just don't think. A lot of people don't think ahead.
I think people are so distracted today. Their heads are buried in a phone. They're driving. They're talking. They're so distracted. You see kids walking with their mom or their dad, and they have their heads buried in their phone, and the kids are trying to get their attention. It's like we're just walking through life. We're not mindful. We're not present at all.
That is actually a good way to put it.
You know what I mean?
Top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
I'll bet you if you look at the statistics of all the kids left in the car, it's done by fickle women.
No,
what does that mean?
I don't think so.
This guy was a guy who killed his
I don't think so.
There have been plenty of men that have done that.
I think it's just as many men,
what does
if
fickle
not more.
women have to do? What does that even mean
I
anymore?
Don't know.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Sounds like he might have some issues there. Top story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning. You were saying you don't think the people are thinking. I think they're thinking. They're just not thinking along the lines of what they should be thinking. They've got their so busy with this modern world that they're not paying attention to the things that they should be paying attention to anymore.
No, I think
Yeah.
people are just so distracted. You're
Yeah,
just
we
living
are.
in a world of distraction.
And you're absolutely right. We're thinking of things that that we're not thinking of things that we should be thinking about.
Well, you're not in the moment. How many times
right.
are you in the moment doing what you're doing?
You're thinking about
Right.
the job this thing you got to do for your job today. You're thinking about, I'm waiting for a call or something from someone, or waiting for a text from someone, or gee, I wonder what I'm going to do tonight after work. And I don't know it, and I don't know that it's so many of these things we talk about. I don't know that it's any worse today than it was many years ago.
No, I think it is.
But
the phones.
we have
It's the phones.
Yeah, I think that
They
is
were
a
walking
valid
around
argument.
years ago with
I
the
think that's a
phones.
valid argument. Yeah,
No
I think
way.
that's a valid argument because you're
It's
right.
destroying our society.
I have seen people walking down. I have seen people sitting in a room. There can be several people sitting in the room. Nobody's talking, and everybody is looking at their smartphone.
Or at a restaurant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, the older generation, like me, we're not quite as bad as the younger generations that have actually been brought up with this thing.
And I think
because
that's
that is a part of life. For us, it's kind of a new thing. It's a new gadget. But for the younger generations growing up, it is part of their life, part of their society.
But it's sad when they're trying to get their parents, attention, or their mom or dad just sitting there and their kids are looking at them. Come on. I think that's part of it. You're just not in the moment.
So I don't know what will we do? Ban all the smartphones?
Well, why don't they just put their phones away and while they're driving, you put it in your purse, put it in the back seat. Talk to your kid, and then you'll know he's there. Even if they're little ones, sing to your kid. Do the things our parents used to do to us.
I know.
Look for a license plate.
Anyway, that's kind of and I have a smartphone. But
this is an epidemic, Cal. This is an epidemic across the country.
I totally
and this
agree.
is just so sad.
I agree.
If that happened to you as a parent, as an accident, how do you live with yourself for the rest of your life? How do you live with yourself?
Agreed.
Oh, it'd be just hell.
7360300, top story. You're on the air.
I think as a society, it's also important that those of us that are seeing children in danger speak up. I was driving down Blue Lakes, and there was a woman on the phone carrying the stroller folded up, and a little girl, she looked like about 3, was trying to keep up with her. And the little girl was in the middle of the street, and the mom was about 10, 11 feet ahead of her.
Oh, my God.
And then she was on the phone.
Yeah.
And so I parked, and I walked up to her, and I said, "Did you remember your little girl?" And she was livid with me, but she went back and picked her up and put her in the stroller.
Wow.
But I think
Good
it's
for
up
you.
to us
Yeah.
if we see it to speak up.
Yeah.
Someone's
right.
got to protect these little children.
You're right.
You're
Good
right.
for you.
Anyway.
Yeah, thanks for that. That's a good story.
lesson, though. It is. You do need to do that.
Yeah, but instead of the mother being appreciative, oh, yeah, thank you, she was mad.
Well, yeah,
So,
because she's saying you're not a good mother.
Yeah.
Look, you're walking through the
That's
street,
right.
your kid's how many feet behind? You're carrying her stroller, she's trying to keep up, and you're on the phone. What if she got hit by a car?
Yeah, it only takes an instant
know.
to be a bad parent.
I know.
So
That sounds like a public service announcement.
it does, doesn't
Way
it?
to
I
go,
guess.
Kelly.
Anyway, so much for my rant on that, I guess. Come on, people. We need
No,
to
when you see
slow
it
down.
across
We
the
need to
country,
think.
16 kids have died this way in our country this year. Come on. Something's going on.
And we never used to hear about this. It makes you wonder, okay, why just in the last few years?
I think it's the phones. I think people are not present in any part of their life.
Well, I don't know that that's the case, because I don't know that everyone who has left a kid in the car who died was on the phone or even had a phone when it happened.
No, I mean just even being distracted. You're not present in your
Yeah.
moment, in the exact moment. Are you present right now, Kelly? Are you present? Are you present?
I'm sorry, what?
I know, exactly.
Anyway,
Of
coming
course, you
up.
got things going against you. You got that Y chromosome.
I know.
They're
Yeah,
always like,
right.
what?
Oh,
What?
thanks, Jill.
What?
Thanks,
What?
Jill. Coming
Coming
up,
up.
we're going to talk about spying and recording your phone calls and remembering about what we said on phone calls in the near past that the NSA probably has now.
I
what
hope they
did
enjoy
we
it.
say?
I hope they enjoy it.
7360300, the number to call here on Top Story. Yesterday's Friday's $100 instant winning name is Alan Webb.
Alan Webb, congratulations.
And your $100 word of the day for today is pieces.
Pieces.
Contrary to how the spelling might be on Facebook, you actually spell it P-I-E-C-E-S.
Have you seen it differently?
Like pieces of pie.
Oh.
On Facebook, I have seen almost every word in the English language misspelled many different ways.
Goodness.
So there you go.
So don't do it, because you're going to pluck Kelly's last nerve.
Facebook is a cesspool of misspellings.
Misspellings. And
It
you know
really
what?
is.
We talked about this. And the people who don't spell well always say, what's the big deal?
Yeah, I know.
It's because you can't spell. And if you know you can't spell well, then check.
Yes.
You know, check it.
But that's the problem. You can't rely on the spell checkers, and because there are several different ways to spell the same word.
Right.
Like pieces, like peace, P-I-E-C-E and P-E-A-C-E.
If someone spelled pieces with P-E-A-C-E-S, come on. This is our spelling lesson for the day.
That's right. You have until midnight tonight to go to our website at newsradio1310.com. Type in pieces, P-I-E-C-E-S. You listen tomorrow. If you hear your name tomorrow and you played the word of the day today, then you win $100. I wanted to say at the beginning of the show, and it kind of slipped my mind. I was distracted by my smartphone or something. But anyway, the new Miss Idaho for 2014 is the current reigning Miss Magic Valley, Sierra Sanderson.
Oh.
So we want to say
congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations to Sierra Sanderson, Miss Magic Valley, who's now Miss Idaho for 2014, and she will now compete in the Miss America competition on September 14th.
And I heard she really wants world peace.
Yeah, right.
Because they all do.
World peace and food for everyone. So.
Yes.
But anyway, no, seriously,
No,
congratulations.
congratulations. That's fabulous.
Yeah.
How nice to have it from the Magic Valley.
Yeah, for a change.
Yeah.
Yes.
How exciting.
Okay, William Binney. And this is from theguardian.com, and Anthony Lowenstein is the author of this article.
Could be Lowenstein, too.
Could be Lowenstein. Okay.
Stein, whatever.
Steinstein.
I would have said Steen, but go on.
William Binney is one of the highest-level whistleblowers to ever emerge from the NSA. He was a leading code breaker against the Soviet Union during the Cold War, but resigned soon after September 11, disgusted by Washington's move towards more mass surveillance. On July 5th, he spoke at a conference in London organized by the Center for Investigative Journalism and revealed the extent of the surveillance programs unleashed by the Bush and Obama administrations. And this is a quote: "At least 80% of fiber optic cables globally go via the United States," Mr. Binney said. "This is no accident and allows the U.S. to view all communication coming in. At least 80% of all audio calls, not just the metadata, are recorded and stored in the U.S." He says, continuing the quote, "The NSA lies about what it stores." The NSA will soon be able to collect 966 exabytes a year, the total of Internet traffic annually. Former Google head Eric Schmidt once argued that the entire amount of knowledge from the beginning of humankind until 2003 amounts to only about 5 exabytes. Binney, who featured in a 2012 short film by Oscar-nominated U.S. filmmaker Laura Poitras, described a future where surveillance is ubiquitous and government intrusion is unlimited. "The ultimate goal of the NSA is total population control," Binney said. "But I'm a little optimistic with some recent Supreme Court decisions, such as law enforcement mostly now needing a warrant before searching a smartphone."
The only thing I have to say about this is if he resigned September 11th, 2001, a lot has changed.
It was shortly after that.
Okay, a lot has changed in 13 years. And is he really familiar what's happening since that time? I mean, you were out of the government. How do you really know at that point what's happening? And, you know, especially the Obama administration, they weren't in until 2009. That's 8 years after he was in government. You know, I don't know. How would he get that information unless he's getting it from the inside? But right there, it kind of makes me wonder how relevant is he still?
If you're one of the top dogs in a place like this and you resign, you probably still have a lot of friends who still work there and are letting you know stuff. And there's no way that we today on this show can verify that this information is true.
Right.
However, when there is so much talk going around about this that you have to consider some of what these people are saying.
Well, I just think that 2001.
You can't just think that because they are saying this, that would never happen in America.
I'm not
we
saying
can't
that.
think that anymore.
I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying when you've been gone since 2001 and Homeland Security wasn't even formed yet, do you know really what's happening still? I mean, I used to work at Reebok. I have no idea what's happening now, even though I might have some friends there, but you know what I'm saying? I don't know. That was the first thing that I was thinking of when I heard
that's a valid
the
point.
time point.
I think the stuff that this guy brings up is very, well,
you don't really know, but
we don't know. No, and no matter what anybody ever says about anything, we never know for sure unless we were there. But we have to consider it. 7360300 is the number to call here on Top Story this morning. You've heard us talking about the Lowe and Honey Loader from Stanley and Company, where it can load all types of manure at up to 7 miles an hour, as a matter of fact, which
sounds pretty fast.
Which may not seem like any big deal to the average listener, but if you have a feedlot or a dairy operation, you know what I'm talking about, right? You betcha. All right, so you want to see one of these in operation, you're thinking, wow, I'd like to have one of those at my place. You can see one of these in operation before you make the big step. Get a hold of Pat Hartzell at 280-1167. That's Pat Hartzell at 280-1167, and he can help you get an appointment and see one of these in operation. You can just call him direct, 280-1167. Pat Hartzell with Stanley and Company and the Lowe and Honey Loader.
Isn't that nice?
That's right. It's a relationship made in heaven there.
You can even race it. See how fast you are. Can you beat the Honey Loader?
That would be fun.
That'd be a fun little... Actually, that'd be a good promo for them.
It would be.
Do you know? Good marketing. Okay, you guys, I'm not charging you for that idea. I'm just telling you. I think that would be a really good idea.
There's Jill.
Don't you think that'd be a great
consummate
contest?
Promoter. It would.
Can you beat the Honey Loader?
Lowe and Honey Loader.
7 miles an hour.
With your manure fork.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or scoop shovel.
Why not?
All right. Well, I'll talk to the sales lady who's in charge of that, and she can contact.
Get right on it.
See what they say.
Be a great contest.
Getting back to our story here about Mr. Binney, whenever anyone has stories like this, there are some people who fall right in place and believe everything they say. There are others who deny everything. Oh, this is America. That could never happen. It's just a disgruntled employee. But when you have a number of these who are actually doing this, it makes you wonder, there has to be a certain percentage of truth somewhere in this. And then we get to the point, does it really bother me that the NSA has could have all of my phone calls? And then you get to thinking back, gosh, what have I ever said? You're talking to somebody on the phone.
You think someone is really sitting there listening, or they're just gathering it? I mean, and how could you gather every conversation? And frankly, you know what? Fine. Listen to my conversations. Maybe the NSA will help me do my fundraisers better. Give me some ideas. I don't really care. I don't think they're listening to my calls. I can't imagine a person sitting there listening to 330 million Americans' phone calls.
I can't either.
I think this is crazy.
They would have to have tens of thousands of people listening to phone calls constantly.
Yeah, I mean, you would go
in order to keep up with it. But here's how I have read that it was explained. The information from each individual goes in as metadata, so that it kind of like it goes into your electric file.
Okay.
So that if in the future you were ever to be arrested or suspected of something, they could go back into this file of all the things
your whole
you've
life.
ever said.
Come on, I don't
of all
believe
the
it.
emails you have ever sent.
I don't believe
of
it.
everything that is in your past life. And they could go back into Mr. So-and-so, it appears here that on July 8th of 2004, in an email to so-and-so, you said...
But you would also have to get a warrant. I don't believe it. I think it's just too much. And you know what? They're having trouble.
All this crap about warrants, I don't believe that for a second. I don't.
Well,
besides, we've got that secret. We've got that secret court that it was put together by the government that goes through and they okay these warrants. It's not like they have to go through the regular court system. They go through these little secret court that they've got set up that is bona fide. It is a fact.
But we do know, but the Supreme Court just passed the ruling that if someone stopped you or me and a cop said, I want to look at your phone. No, you say you need a warrant now. They can't just give your phone to a police officer and have them look through it. So there are.
But they may already have that information. That's the thing.
Let them try to find it. I know they're having a hard time finding the email sent from CSI on Edit Santo. I mean, that's taken months. So if they're so good, how come that information hasn't come out like immediately? They just said now they've narrowed it down to the Barnes and Noble and the Gmail account. Well, how come they can't find the email so fast? So I don't believe this. I don't believe they're recording every call and someone's listening.
They just haven't asked the NSA yet.
Oh, please. For some reason, when he left in 2001, fine.
Okay.
I don't think he has the exact knowledge. I think he's speculating.
So let's say so much of this isn't true now, but in the future, as technology improves, I think we're going to see a time in the future.
Well, look what companies are doing.
It will be such that this kind of stuff will be reality.
Well, it's happening now. You look at something on Amazon or anything with your store. Oh, you purchased this. Now there's all of a sudden a sale on it.
Well, now you just told me, no, this stuff isn't going on yet. And now you just say, well, wait a minute, it's happening now.
It's not through NSA. It's through our marketing companies. It's through our private companies.
If the marketing companies have it,
they're not recording our
the
calls.
NSA is knocking on their door. I think they are recording our calls.
Yeah, fine. Enjoy what I talk about to my mom. Have fun. I don't care.
7360300 is the number to call. Does it bother you if your calls are being recorded? Even though they might not be listening to them now, that they can be pulled up at a later time. Would it bother you if something like this was going on right now?
And then you have to wonder, the metadata, I don't care about that. I think it's actually helped solve the Boston bombing. They saw where phone calls were coming in, the metadata, because if we didn't have that and something happened, then people would be screaming, where's the information? How come we can't access it? I think our world's becoming so public, frankly. If they want to listen to my boring, mundane phone calls, have fun. Maybe you have some suggestions on how I can improve the fundraisers for Rotary. I'd love that. Thank you very much. They're listening to our radio show. They see what our shopping habits are, private companies are. You know what? It's becoming such a public world. If you're doing something wrong, okay. But I think it's beyond controlling it. I know they've bugged each other's embassies back in the Cold War days. That was no secret. All countries do it. So, and that's the era he came from, was bugging country. He was in the Cold War, this guy. So he probably thinks, sure, we bug them, we'll bug everyone.
Mr. Binney praised the revelations and bravery of former NSA contractor Edward Snowden and said that he had indirect contact with a number of other NSA employees who felt disgusted with the agency's work. They're keen to speak out but fear retribution and exile, not unlike Snowden himself, who is likely to remain there for some time. Unlike Snowden, Binney didn't take any documents with him when he left the NSA. He now says that hard evidence of illegal spying would have been invaluable. The latest Snowden leaks featured in the Washington Post detail private conversations of average Americans with no connection to extremism. It shows that the NSA is not just pursuing terrorism as it claims, but ordinary citizens going about their daily communication. The NSA is mass collecting on everyone, Binney said, and it's said to be about terrorism. It's said to be about terrorism, but inside the U.S., it has stopped 0 attacks.
That's not true because the thing with the Boston bombers, the metadata showed which phone calls were
That
coming
didn't stop
through.
the attack, though.
It didn't stop it, but they certainly got the guys.
But it didn't stop it. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, I guess it would only stop it. Is that what he's saying?
Yes.
But to catch them, yeah, that would be another. I guess that was a big, boo-wah.
The lack of official oversight is one of Binney's key concerns, particularly of the secret Foreign Intelligence Service Court, which is held out by NSA defenders as a sign of the surveillance scheme's constitutionality. That's the one I was talking about, with warrants just a moment ago. 7360300. Top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, there's too much evidence out that Boston bombing was done by the United States government as a false flag.
Oh, my.
I don't know.
I haven't seen any evidence to suggest
I haven't either.
that.
And I know there's been there's have been talk that the Connecticut shooting.
Oh, that one I can't even deal with. People are going up to these parents and saying their kids were not shot and killed. Come on. At some point, you have to realize, things have happened.
The FISA court has only the government's point of view, he argued. There are no other views for the judges to consider. There have been at least 15 to 20 trillion constitutional violations for U.S. domestic audiences, and you can double that globally, he said. A FISA court in 2010 allowed the NSA to spy on 193 countries around the world, plus the World Bank, though there's evidence that even the nations the U.S. isn't supposed to monitor, Five Eyes allies Britain, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand are not immune from being spied on. It's why encryption is today so essential to transmit information safely. Binney recently told the German NSA Inquiry Committee that his former employer had a totalitarian mentality that was the greatest threat to U.S. society since the country's U.S. Civil War in the 19th century. Despite this remarkable power, Binney still mocked the NSA's failures, including missing this year's Russian intervention in Ukraine and the Islamic State's takeover of Iraq. The era of mass surveillance has gone from the fringes of public debate to the mainstream, where it belongs. The Pew Research Center released a report this month, Digital Life in 2025, that predicted worsening state control and censorship, reduced public trust, and increased commercialization of every aspect of web culture. It's not just Internet experts warning about the Internet's colonization by state and corporate power. One of Europe's leading web creators, Lena Thiel, presented her stunning series Net Wars in London on the threat of cyber warfare. She showed how easy it is for governments and corporations to capture our personal information without us even realizing it. So there you go. That's the world we have to look forward to. That's the world our kids have to look forward to.
It's happening. The internet, you can't put it back in the bottle. And frankly, I don't think they're listening to every phone call. I think that's just hyperbole.
The technology is there. It's going to get better and better. So it's bound to happen. It is just bound to happen. And it's time now for the Huckabee Report. You can hear the Huckabee Report each weekday at this time, brought to you exclusively by Waddell & Reed. Laura Nelson, Josh Funk, and Steve Stanger are the financial advisors there, and their number is 736-6563.
Okay, I want to tell you about the UPS store. That's right. If you have a home business without a retail location, you don't want people snooping around your house, or if you're moving, or maybe you have some issues with how secure your mail is, go to the UPS store, rent a mailbox. If you tell them that Joe or Kelly sent you, you'll receive 1, 2, or 3 additional months free. But you must tell them that Joe or Kelly sent you. Otherwise, you're leaving money on the table, people. That's how easy it is. While you're there, you can print, you can ship, you can make color copies, you can laminate. You can easily design or upload your projects from any place, anytime. There's no drop-off fees for prepaid packages or mail. That's how easy. Just go to the UPS store in the corner of Blue Lakes and Addison, and they're open on Saturdays. So you can do all that stuff when you don't have time during the week on a Saturday. So UPS store, corner of Blue Lakes and Addison.
I was just watching the TV screen here, and apparently comedian Tracy Morgan is out of the hospital now after that horrific crash that killed one of his friends and scriptwriters.
And he's suing Walmart.
Yeah. I don't know that it mentioned an amount yet, but...
Wow, here's some news breaking right now. Church of England okays female bishops.
Whoa! Seriously?
Earth-shattering. Finally! You heard it here first. The General Synod of the Church of England voted today that women can be consecrated as bishops 2 years after a similar measure was controversially voted down.
Wow.
It required the passage of a 2/3 majority. And do you say it's synods or synods?
Synod, I believe is the way that is pronounced.
Synod's 3 houses of bishops, clergy, and is it laity?
Laity.
The House of Bishops approved of women bishops 37-2 with one abstention.
Whoa.
The House of Clergy approved 162-25 with 4 abstentions, and the House of Laity approved 152-45 with 5 abstentions. So there you go. Finally, 2014 women bishops.
Did you see where the Pope has estimated that 1 out of every 50 priests is a pedophile?
Only 1 out of every 50?
Sounded a little low to me, too, I thought, but even at that.
I swear,
for the Pope to even recognize that.
Well, you know what? He should.
Oh, absolutely.
Sorry, absolutely. They should. They hid it long enough. It's shameful. And Cardinal Bernard Law was the bishop in Boston, knew all about it. Now he's a cardinal. Promoted him. I'm sorry. Outrageous. The guy should be arrested.
Well, that's it for us today. Tomorrow we'll have Steve Millington with the Twin Falls Republicans, and I believe we also have County Prosecutor Grant Lobes tomorrow.
That's right. So get your free legal advice.
That's right. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Goodbye, Jill.
Bye, Cal.